Hello, welcome to the Mastercam course. In that course, we're going to talk about Mastercam. In that lecture, we're going to try to understand how can we create our 2D and the product. Okay, so let's start with actually wireframe options. I'm going to click here. This is wireframe. So at that point, we can create our the sketch here. So that's why when, for example, we can use point. If I am click here, this is point. After that, actually, I can click any point on the screen by using my mouse. This is actually any point. After that, actually, we can also keep going and create our point like this, or we can click OK and create new operation again. So actually, it is not necessary, and we can keep going to create our point. So if you intend to create different cut point, for example, and the trade point or cut point, it's also possible to organize that kind of the point here. So let's click OK button, and we can see our point on the screen. Actually, when I focus on our screen by using the right mouse button here, we can turn to isometric perspective. At that point, we can see that all my point on the X and Y plane. So this is X and Y plane. So we can also see here 3D options here, like this. We can also see the C plane top. So after that, we can turn back to right mouse button and click top VCS here. Okay, so this is all my point. After that, we can create some window here to select all my point. After that, we can push and we can hit the delete button in our keyboard. Okay, this is actually help us to create our point, but we can also use the point position button again, and then we can push the X button here. When we push the X button, as you can see, there is some actually box here can be seen. After that, we can write our X 10 and the Y 25 and Z axis, for example, 100. Okay. After that, of course, we need to hit enter button. At that point, it's easy to create that kind of point here. Okay, so we can turn back to top view again, and then we can push the point position again, and then we can write 10. Okay, and you don't need to write X, actually you just need to write the 10 here. And then we can keep going X and the Y coordinate, and then we can write our Z coordinate, and then we can hit the enter button again. Okay, so we're gonna see our new point here. Okay, so we can delete all that point. Okay, what else? We can click on the point position, and then we can write the 10, 10, and 10, X, Y, and Z coordinate, and then we can click OK button. So you can see that this is X positive side and Y axis positive side. Okay, we can click our the point position button again, and then we can click X minus 10, Y 10, and Z axis 10 again. Okay, this is my the second point. After that, I can keep going X minus Y minus and Z axis 10 again. Okay, this is the third area actually, and then I can write X positive side, Y minus side, and then Z axis again. Okay, all that point can be created like this. Okay, this is the point approach. Actually, after that, it's also possible to create that kind of point. Okay, for example, I can create my line. This is gonna be my line, and then we can turn to 3D to 2D. We can hit that button here. I can turn to 2D, and then we can hit the Z depth position, and then we can write here, for example, and minus 10. This is minus 10, and then we can hit the point position button again, and then we can use the midpoint position by using our line. So actually, this is quite important. This is my actually point, actually here, that point. But when I am turned to 2D with the new Z position, we can project that point on that plane. Okay, this is Z axis minus 10. Okay, if I am click 3D, even if we can see the minus 10 here, it's not important. When I am hit the point position, and then when I am click and midpoint of my line, we can only be able to create that point here. Okay, let's turn 2D again, and then we can change the our and position with 10. This is my Z plane, and then we can turn to point position, and then we can click our point here. So that's gonna turn to actually 10. Okay, sorry about that, we already on the 10, so let me change that position with 5. I can click here and here. You're gonna see that this is gonna turn to and the Z axis 5 position, and then we can turn to 3D again, and then we can click that position here. Okay, that's all about actually point. We can also see the different position here. We can use and the trade point. Okay, I can click here. Maybe we should turn to 2D to be able to see our trade point here. I can click here. This is gonna trade point. You can click here. This is gonna be actually and the wire options here. We can also turn to cut point here. It's also possible to create some cut point here. Okay, so we can turn to trade here. Maybe we should click here, and then we can click OK button. This is accepted, and then we can turn to cut point again to be able to select our new position. Okay, this is trade point, and this is gonna turn to cut point. If I am not pushing the OK button, actually I can keep going to create my cut point or trade point or point. So that's why and OK and create new operation and OK operation and the cancel operation is quite important at that point. Okay, that's all about and point position. Of course, we can also talk about if we can create some circle here in anywhere, and then it's also possible to create point position according to actually my circle. But we can use the right mouse button here, and then we can easily change our and the point type here. For example, I can turn to here, or we can use the right mouse button again, and we can also change our point approach here. For example, it can be any of that symbol. Okay, so that's all about actually point approach.